they often cited our receivers here in DC as getting open like not well, like one of the lowest ranked guys in terms of separation. And if you look at next gen stats, they have Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. I guess their average yardage of separation or whatever is like 2.6. And I'm trying to put it in context. A guy like Tyreek Hill is 3.3, right? So I guess on average he's 3.3 yards away from, his defender when he catches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other, like Mike Evans.
Devontae Adams is pretty good, right? Some people say he's the best receiver in football. He's at 2.6.
Yeah, he's the same.
Exactly.
CeeDee Lamb is at 2.7. So, I mean, Keenan Allen, everyone says he runs ridiculous routes. He's at 3.1. So they're kind of all over the place. I'm not sure there's a lot of validity in this stat. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at DK Metcalf.
Are you telling me CeeDee Lamb can't get open?
DK Metcalf, AJ Brown. Now, those are bigger physical receivers, but they're at 2.4.
Right.
That's below McLaurin and Dotson.
AJ Brown, did you mention him?
Yes.
Yeah, AJ Brown, 2.4. Like, AJ Brown's Hall of Famer. Is elite.
Yeah, that's one stat.
I know. I'm just saying, I don't know that I'm going to put a lot of stock in that stat. It's just a quirky stat.
Yeah.
Some people measure well in it. Some don't. Our guys don't necessarily measure well in it, but it doesn't preclude you from playing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think we'd all agree Terry McLaurin is not a top 5 receiver in the league. Like you would start with Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams.
I put him in
Jamar
the top
Chase.
20. I put him in top 20.
You'd probably put Cooper Kupp up there. You'd find probably at least 10 guys you'd want ahead of him. But he's probably in that next tier.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he's a top 20 receiver. Now, the Jahan Dotson thing is, we were hopeful after rookie season, just really have no clue after last season what he's going to do this year.
Right.
But also, and you guys know this, but McLaurin's numbers would be different with a more established quarterback.
Yeah, they might be this year.
If he was playing in Dallas, or if he was playing in Miami, or if he was playing in Detroit, or if he was playing in L.A. with the Rams with Stafford, his numbers would be better.
I think that's fair. I think if he had a better offensive coordinator last year, they would be better. If he was utilized better. So we'll see. Proof is in the pudding, Jason, as you like to say. I'm just saying I might be dismissing that stat a little bit.
Yeah.
I just don't know because it's kind of all over the place. There are great players that measure well in it. There are great players that don't.
And also one thing, one measurable that, and it's not, I guess it's a stat, but one thing that makes receivers great is what do they do after the catch? It's one thing to get open, separate. How good are your hands? And then once you get the ball, how good are you after that? CeeDee Lamb is spectacular after the catch. So obviously, Tyreek Hill is spectacular after the catch because he's so fast.
Right.
And then that also comes to the quarterback in terms of ball placement.
Correct.
Because if your quarterback puts you in the right spot when you're on the move, then you get that yak.
Right. So anyway.
So, all right. Well, so we talked about Martavius Bryant a couple of days ago. Well, they made another move yesterday. We talked about it in the very first segment, but if you're just getting in your car right now, Jason, why don't you give everybody sort of the breakdown of how Trace got on their radar and how that came about?
Well, Trace has been, obviously last year he ended the season with the Steelers, and he did not get signed in the offseason by anybody and didn't get invite to a camp, but he was still working out with some guys up at Penn State, and just kind of waiting for his agent was kind of waiting for a call from a team that had some injuries at the quarterback position. Finally got one a couple days ago from Washington, and that's because Sam Hartman hurt his right shoulder, his throwing shoulder, and they said, all right, we're going to sign you. Come on down. He was in Philly. He flew down to Miami last night. And they said, you're probably going to play. And the connection is because Cliff Kingsbury really knows McSorley. He played for him in Arizona when Kingsbury was the head coach there, so he really knows his system. Also, David Blau is the assistant quarterback coach for the Commanders. David Blau and Trace played together in Arizona under Kingsbury, so he's got a lot of connections there. So I hope to see him on Saturday night. I hope he plays at least a quarter. I'm not sure. Daniel's probably only going to play a series or two.
Well, we're hearing 3. According to Grant, they're telling the target is 3 series.
All right, so maybe
depending upon how it goes.
Maybe that's the first quarter, but hopefully Trace plays.
Well, they're also saying that Mariota is nicked up.
He's nicked up as well.
So he's nicked up. Hartman's out. Driscoll will probably get the bulk of the action.
Yep.
And actually, I think it's. I mean, listen, if you're Trace, you got to take whatever reps you can get.
Mhm.
That's asking a lot, though. A kid to be there for a day and then you throw him to the wolves.
Yeah, we'll see
So
how. Hopefully, he plays well in the joint practice today.
Yeah,
because he'll be playing down there in Miami.
that's also asking a lot. Joint practice is essentially like a scrimmage.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy just showed up. He'd never thrown one pass to Terry McLaurin before.
Correct.
Well,
I mean,
I saw Martavis Bryant running routes yesterday.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, though, with a quarterback, right?
Sure.
I mean, the
More
quarterback-
responsibilities, of course.
Yeah, and you got to have kind of familiarity, know how your guys run around.
So this is a great opportunity, obviously, for Trace, because if he plays well and looks good in the system, they may say, okay, all right, let's stick with him for a while, maybe the rest of the preseason, and then we'll see what happens.
But also just keeps you in the league, in the
Keeps you
cycle.
in the league,
You're
right.
in the transactions.
Correct.
You know.
And if you look good, all right, maybe Washington moves back to Sam Hartman or whoever, and then another team says, oh, we
Right.
could use him as our number 3.
Right. And, of course, you went to Briarwoods.
Briarwoods High School.
7 miles from the Commander's facility. So got to be a thrill for him to put on that uniform.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's about time. I always thought it would be a good fit, obviously being local,
Right.
living in Ashburn and growing up in Ashburn to to play for Washington, but finally gets his opportunity. So what's funny is he and his wife had a house in Leesburg, and they decided to rent it out because he was up in Penn State working out, and her parents live in New Jersey, so they were in New Jersey
So
/
are
Penn
they
State.
like renting a hotel now? They got no or stay with their parents.
They're probably going to stay with his parents. And if he makes the team, I don't know. He's going to have to do something else.
And, of course, we highlighted this story a few years ago. It always makes me laugh. Jason, you have to tell your McSorley duty story. To me, this is the greatest story ever. So Jay is friends with the dad from back to college, right? Dating back to college.
Yep, and his wife, Andrea. So
Right.
Rick and Andrea are the parents, and I went to Richmond with both. Rick played football at Richmond.
Right.
And a few years ago, I was house sitting for another friend of mine,
Right.
my buddy Dave,
Right.
and I was letting their dogs in and out, and I just got a wave, and I didn't feel comfortable taking my next step there at Dave's house, and Rick's house is right across the street, and I know the code, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to go.
House sitting their house.
Yeah.
So why don't you just duty in their house?
And because I
You
mean,
didn't
I don't know
well?
them as well, and
But they were away on vacation.
They were.
It wasn't like you were going to smoke them out of the
I
house.
just felt more comfortable going to the McSorley house because I know the setup, I know where the bathroom is, and all that. I've been there a lot. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go into the
And
McSorley
you knew
house.
they weren't home.
They were not home. They were also on vacation.
They were also.
Yeah.
So you went into the McSorley. You punched in their code. They probably saw you on their Ring doorbell.
Probably.
Right.
And I went in and took care of business. And but they didn't have. I couldn't
Did you
find.
shower
I couldn't
after?
find.
Is that the deal?
I
'Cause you
couldn't
were in the
find any
shower?
TP.
Yeah.
They were out of TP.
So then what'd you do?
I jumped in the shower. And I dirtied their shower floor.
And then what'd you do? Like you just left a guest towel? Or like you had to look for a guest towel?
I found a towel. Yep.
And then you just left it there in the bathroom, like hanging up on the
hanging
thing?
over the shower.
And then did you text him and say, hey, by the way, I had to use your...
Yeah. I mean, of course he knew. Like you said, he's got a ring.
That's hilarious.
I think he actually texted me and goes, hey, what are you doing at my house? I said, well,
Right.
I had to tell him the story.
You know, I don't have a Ring doorbell, but everybody seems to have one or some version of it.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and his wife, they have them all over the place. And his in-laws live with them.
Yeah.
And so we were in the Outer Banks. We were in Corolla. And they're just constantly checking on the parents all day long. You see the dad sleeping on the couch.
Right.
You see the mom out in the backyard.
Yeah.
You see the dad, he's raking lead. Like,
You can see
and
who's
then,
coming
and then
in
you
and
can
out.
talk to them.
Yeah.
And then they're talking to him
Yeah,
too.
you got a
And the
speaker right
dad, and the parent, I mean, they're getting up there. They're kind of losing a little bit as you get up there, right?
Yeah.
They're talking to him. He thinks God's talking. He doesn't know what's going on.
That's funny. We have one too. I can see when the FedEx man's coming
And
up.
do you
the
talk
Amazon
to
man.
the FedEx man when he comes sometimes? Like, if you're not there, do you say, hey, can you just...
It's happened once
like
or twice.
that kind of thing?
It's happened once or twice.
My
but-
wife does that. I don't even know how to use the Ring doorbell. I mean, yeah, I don't have it on my app or.
You don't know.
I
These
don't
guys,
worry
my
about it.
brother, he has it on. He's talking to people. He's talking to contractors.
Yep.
You know, it's wild. You just have to basically assume everyone has a Ring doorbell or some version
Someone's got
of it.
something, and
Right?
100%.
All right, just getting back to the Commanders here briefly. There were a couple moves that were made beyond just
They make any cuts
McSorley.
yesterday?
Yes. They released guard Mason Brooks, who was an undrafted free agent signing last year. They re-signed him this year, but they let him go. And then they also released another lineman. Damn it, where do I have it? Alex Akingbolu.
Okay.
Was released from the IR with an injury settlement. So today's a big day. Hey, Mike Marr, do we have any update on the – does Mike have his headphones on? Do we have any update on if the joint practice today is going to be on YouTube or anything?
No, I looked on the Dolphins' social media today and couldn't find any links to it.
All right, so if it's not on the Dolphins, then it's not going to be –
Yeah, because they would be, since they're the ones hosting the practice, they would be the ones controlling all the media stuff around it.
Right. Okay. Well, if anybody has any clue, and by the way, Drabby, I was looking up the Scott. For some reason, they're saying Scott Peterson is speaking out on Peacock docuseries.
Yeah, I think there's two, but the one that he did an interview for, I think, is on Netflix. I might be confused, but there are two
it's
Scott
weird. They must
Peterson
be jointly
documentaries out.
because they're saying face to face.
Yeah, maybe Peacock produced it.
Yeah, it's weird. I think it's on both.
He also broke his silence on Face to Face with Scott Peterson on Peacock, but there is one that comes out on Netflix this week too.
Isn't that also called Face to Face or no?
American Murder, Lacey Peterson.
Okay, so it's two
American
different.
Murder.
It's two different.
There's also a Netflix thing on Steve McNair's murder that comes out, I think, this week or next week.
I don't understand.
A lot of murder content.
Is this like
Always good.
20 years to the?
I
the
think
week
it's
or
like the
something?
20-year anniversary or something of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Remind me of the McNair thing. Was that a romance thing? Like was he like having an affair with some like married chick
I don't
or
know
something like that?
I don't know if it was an affair, but I know some woman, it could have been maybe his wife or ex-wife, killed him.
Yeah, he was having the affair with that 20-year-old. Remember, there was like a
I
young
vaguely
girl,
remember.
and so both of them were.
I'm definitely gonna watch that. I'm definitely watching that. I can't remember. Did they kill him after he was retired at that point? Right? He wasn't still a player, was he?
I think he had just retired a year or two prior.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, because he was with the Ravens, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because he was killed, I think, in 2009, and I think he was with the Ravens a couple of years before that.
We're gonna say Drab.
I think you and me and probably a lot of people are always intrigued by these sort of things, is because I'm sure Scott Peterson's guilty, 99.9999, right? There's no worse beat in the world than being sentenced to prison for life for a crime you didn't commit.
That is for
It's
sure.
always intriguing.
It's always your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
You know,
And it does happen.
it happens.
I mean, you would hope relatively, not very often, in terms of percentage-wise, but it seems to happen. Yeah, guys getting released all the time. The DNA's exonerating them.
Yeah. No,
They say he has a one-outer if they can find a third person's DNA on something that they're testing. That's like his one-outer.
they have more DNA.
I
they
think
don't
that
know whose
there's
it
some
is.
DNA that's going to be examined. I don't know. I was just reading about it yesterday. And I think if they could find a third person, some unknown,
Mm-hmm.
then I didn't realize. Yeah,
So McNair's
Girlfriend.
shot him twice,
And then
killed
killed herself.
herself.
Yeah.
it was a murder suicide. Oh,
She was the 20-year-old.
Yes.
brutal. What was she bitter about? Maybe he was cheating on her.
I don't know.
No,
They
I
say
mean,
on the
you'll have to
day of
watch
the
it.
shooting, according to Wikipedia, text messages between the pair were exchanged proclaiming their love to one another, in which she texted him, "You love me," in which McNair replied, "I love you, baby." There was also a conversation about financial issues where McNair transferred $2,000 to her, who claimed she was stressed and needed to pay her phone bill.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
McNair then offered to come over to check on her after she said her chest felt heavy. He put his children to bed. Then at 11, he texted her, "On my way." Then apparently she shot him in his sleep
And then she
and then
shot
killed
herself.
herself.
So she was suicidal, and she was just going to take him out with her.
I think he was involved with another woman, too.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So she knew that, and what a disaster.
Plus, she was 20. I mean, she was a kid. She
What a
was
disaster.
psycho.
All right, I want to watch that. I mentioned that I did watch the Kingsbury interview with Rossini, and I don't know that a lot came from it. I guess
He's high on the running backs.
Yeah, I mean, somebody did write an article about how he did mention that he really likes Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. He also just glowing about Jaden, about Jaden's work ethic, about Jaden's maturity. So nothing really earth shattering there. But he did point out that he went from college straight to NFL head coach and all of that comes with it. He had never even been an offensive coordinator in the NFL. This is an opportunity for him to just be an offensive coordinator, just do what he does. You don't have to do all the administrative stuff. You don't have to worry about the defense. You don't have to do all the media obligations.
Just focus on one thing.
Just focus on just be an offensive coordinator, which is your bread and butter anyway. So I'm excited.
I think it's a huge upgrade